I think over the last 20 years, we have really seen the explosion of the application of business ideas into non-profit organization, into governmental work, but I also think that businesses are sort of taking up on the action and creating the social values under the mantle of corporate social responsibility, corporate citizenship, or the social responsible businesses. I think it was really already enough that we've seen the business environment and the public sector sort of pitted against each other. I think the concept of shared value actually recognizes that the societal needs, that they are creating the market, and it's not only the conventional economic needs that actually could do that. I'm very honored that we have developed the terms that are actually putting next to each other the word of social and sort of embedding it into the concept of private sector and corporate world. And we have actually developed the words such as social entrepreneurship, social enterprises, and maybe the most favorite one, social innovation. I'm very happy that today I have those distinguished guests with me that are not only very well experienced, but they are also willing to share their ideas and experience with us today. And if I may start, I would like to use my honor to invite to the stage the first speaker who would talk about digital transition and urban partnership. And she will also touch the balance between social and economic aspects, and also aspects of co-creation and human data significance. Marianne Schreurs, the Deputy Mayor of Eindhoven. Big applause for it.
Where can I avoid the lights?
It's a bit.
It's difficult. Hello.
No presentation for this one.
No, yeah.
No presentation for this one.
This meeting. The subject of this meeting is really spot on. As you might not realize, we are living in the Matrix. I hope that everybody knows the movie. In it, we think we are living our lives, but we are only used by machines to give them energy. And actually what is happening today is that we are becoming nothing more than a cash dispenser for Californian companies. We are reduced to giving money. Our society is being reduced to being nothing more than an economic system. And you may rightly ask yourself the question, is that actually what we want to be? And of course the answer is no. This is not being human. And then the next question is, can we change it? And of course, we have created this system. And somebody was telling us in the panel, well, these are the rules of the systems. Yes, but these are the rules that we created. So let's create something else. We are cultural beings. We can do that. And that is exactly what we are now trying to establish within the urban agenda, the digital transformation part. Everybody that is participating, whether they are countries or cities or DGs, are telling, let's come together and create a European alternative. For otherwise, we are stuck with the American example, which will override us, and if that doesn't override us, the Chinese will buy us up. So, let's do that. To give you an example, in my own city, we have very strict rules on procurement. No vendor lock-in, no technology lock-in. I want to be able to see the algorithms you use because they are influencing. And of course, data are publicly owned or you own it yourself. Is this enough to make a difference? No, but sure as hell, Uber can't be a part of our city. We want our own localized Uber. And actually, it's not rocket science. You can really create it very simply ourselves, and specifically on a European scale. And then all the proceeds will not go to one billionaire in California, but can go to our own society and can be used for whatever things we want it to be used for. And then the next step. Companies like Cisco always used to tell us, well, give us your city and we make it run very smoothly because it will be data-driven. But actually that meant that we would be data-driven. And the same question is asked to you. Do you really want to be data-driven? No, you want data that help you to live the life you want to live. And that means that we need human-driven data. It sounds easier than it is. We invited in all our innovation a cultural institute, a so-called critical friend. And what they discovered is that we are suffering from data deserts. And that means that the data that we generate and are searching for are not the data that are important in the lives of people. Actually, the relationships is very small. That helps us to generate the data that actually are helpful. And even that, of course, is not enough. For in the end, we, all of us, in whatever position, are also citizens. And all of us have to create the new solutions together. So in the end, localized, all the stakeholders, including all the citizens, have to co-create the solutions that befit that specific ecosystem. So that's companies, knowledge institutes, governments, citizens, whatever, whole of society. And then you may ask yourself, but what does that mean on the European scale? Is there nothing to do anymore for the European Commission? I'm very inspired by what the European Commission said at the Pact of Amsterdam. At the Pact of Amsterdam, it was the first time that cities were included in EU policies from the start. And what they said is, we, the Commission, will go for a multi-layered approach. And what they actually were saying is, yes, there are big societal challenges. And all of us, all the governments have to work together on creating the circumstances that we are able to cater for that societal challenges. Let's solve them, but let's do it together and not in our separate silos. And for example, in the digital transformation, that means that on the level of Europe, you have to take care of the technology, standardization, interoperability, the works. And at the local level, you must be able to create your localized results. In Eindhoven, we use design as a tool just to make it happen. And it's very interesting because when I came here, I was so thrilled to be here. Of course, I recognize that a lot is like home, a technical university and things like that. But it's also very different. And that is something that Europe as a whole has to offer. Yes, we are very similar, but also we are very different. So we are very good at creating solutions that work in every circumstances because we make them adaptable. And in combining technology with localized design solution, you can actually do exactly that. So now we are trying to create a big procurement within Europe, and it's on smart lighting, and that actually means that you create, that public space is becoming digitalized as a whole. You can do all kinds of things in it. But what we want to take care of is that all kinds of cities that are not into technology can just get the technology and also get the tool, the design tool, to make it work in their own city, in their own circumstances. Will that be easy to do that locally? Well, our critical friend also discovered that normally you can define 9 personas in your city, and we always talk to 3 of them. So 2/3 of our local citizens are left out, especially young people. And it's interesting. And how do you solve that? Well, just by starting doing it in a living lab. But the European part is, as soon as you discover how to do things, let's scale up. Let's really do something like that. A last point I want to share with you is on robotization. You saw in the slides, everybody is always talking about work that isn't there anymore. And the interesting thing is, what is the work that's being lost actually in these days? What we have done since the Second World War is creating solutions that are based on the factory model. What actually happened was that it's reduced all of us to objects, to things, and as to make us create things that were reproducible in a machine-like fashion. Around 1900, 90% of the population around Eindhoven was still working on the land. And the development afterwards was that there was created a lot of room to do other things. We faced the same possibility, but we really have to get rid of the factory model. In the end, it's all about being able to be a human being again. It's all about seeing what the other one is able to do. And the other one, whether working in a company or elsewhere, is not your opponent. It's the other one that brings you possibilities that you don't have for yourself. At the end of the movie, the main character, Neo, is given a choice. And the choice is, do you want to go back to the old system in which you thought you were very happy, but were just delivering energy? Or do you want to go for the new world? He's called Neo, of course. For the new world, in which you don't know what exactly will happen, but you will be at the steering wheel of your own future. All of us, and my colleagues will present you with wonderful examples of living labs, all of us are able to be at the steering wheel of our own future. In Europe, we can do that. And I don't think there's anywhere in the world that can be created. This is a wonderful symposium. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And also my apology, I hope that we will invent some sort of social innovation, some application that would actually help me to pronounce your name correctly. So it's Marian Schreurs. I'm trying. Sorry about it, and thank you very much. It was very inspiring. Now I would like to ask Matt Stokes from NESTA representative, who would actually discuss with us digital social innovation for Europe, and he would share with us some practical experience from NESTA projects. Welcome.
Can we get the slides, please? Awesome. Cool. Cool. Well, hi, everyone. I'm Matt Stokes, a researcher at NESTA, which is the UK's innovation foundation. I'm going to be talking about digital social innovation, which is a phenomenon harnessing the power of people and technology to tackle social challenges. So I'm going to try and cover quite a bit. It might be a bit breakneck, but I'll try and keep as clear as possible. Just to begin, a little bit about NESTA. As I said, we're the UK's innovation foundation. We're a charity and we back new ideas to tackle the big challenges of our time. We do this through combining a range of social areas like health, education, arts and culture, government innovation, and by using different methods of innovation. So we carry out research and analysis, we do programs with public services and civil society, we do grant funding to civil society, we build skills and capacity in government organisations, and we make investments in startups with an embedded social impact. So what is digital social innovation? So we all know about digital innovation, and billions are invested every year across the world in fields like gaming and the military and commercial innovation. And we've talked a fair bit about that this morning already. And this usually has a commercial output. It might have an aim, a societal aim as a kind of secondary aim. But we think that there should be more effort and more money put into innovation and digital innovation where societal impact is the main goal. If there's commercial impact, great, but societal impact should be first and foremost. So that's in areas like employment, like justice, like education, healthcare, government, democracy, and so on. So a really wide range of areas where we think it's important. So this is how we define digital social innovation in our work: a type of social and collaborative innovation in which innovators, users, and communities collaborate using digital technologies to co-create knowledge and solutions for a wide range of social needs and at a scale and speed that was unimaginable before the internet. Not the catchiest, so this is the way I prefer to describe it, which is harnessing the power of people and technology to tackle social challenges. So probably the easiest way to kind of make this real is to give some examples. And these, I'm just going to give 5 examples from a range of social areas that will hopefully make clear the kind of range of social areas and range of technologies which are being used. So this is an example from the field of democracy called Citizen Lab. It's based in Belgium, was only founded about a year ago, and offers an app for citizens to participate in the design of their cities. So it started with an original project renovating a park in the city of Hasselt. And allows people to put forward ideas, to discuss ideas, to put ideas to their elected representatives. And in, I think, about 16 months, they are now working in 30 cities across Belgium, as well as with the Belgian federal government and with the Danish federal government, bringing citizens into decision-making. Cool. Closely linked to democracy is accountability and transparency. So we all know the events of the past few years have led to falling turnout in elections, falling trust in politicians, in the media, in civil society. And there are really great people doing amazing work in this space. So one of these is called Prozoro, which is in Ukraine. It was founded by volunteers, actually, after the change of government a few years back, to try and make public procurement more transparent. Hundreds of millions of euros were being lost every year to corruption. And this tool seeks to digitize all public procurement and make it open so that anyone, whether that's a citizen, a journalist, or someone bidding for work, can see it in the same format. Only a month after launching outside government, it was actually brought into government, and now, since the end of last year, it's been a legal requirement for all public bodies in the Ukraine to use this platform when procuring. And it's predicted that it saved about 800 million euros in, up until April of this year. Another field is housing, particularly close to my heart in London, where I pay 2/3 of my income on rent every month. And this is WikiHouse, a really awesome organisation with a big ambition to change the way we build houses. At the moment, we have a small number of companies that build almost all the houses in the UK. And they build open source housing, which you can print with timber at your local makerspace and build yourself. Over the course of about 4 days, you can build a house. And their ambition, kind of long scale, is to create a digitized housing system where anyone can design their own house, build it, get the people they need to help build it, the architects and so on, without having to go through these big contractors, and to take advantage of new digital trends like digital fabrication to really revolutionize the housing market. And finally, in healthcare, this is an organisation called GoodSam, which we've supported through grant funding. And GoodSam literally saves lives. So it uses geo-mapping to alert trained first aiders when there's an emergency. So, for example, someone having a heart attack. And these people can get to the emergency quicker than an ambulance. And it might be a matter of 2 minutes, but if someone has a severe heart attack, their chance of survival drops by 10% every minute. And this is now integrated with the London Ambulance Trust. So if you call the ambulance, immediately 3 people nearby are alerted. And it saved at least 4 lives. So 4 people are alive today who wouldn't be without this app. And then finally, in environment. This is a Smart Citizen Kit, a really awesome piece of open source software, open hardware, which allows people to monitor things like carbon dioxide pollution, nitrous oxide pollution in their environment, and upload it to the cloud. So it allows communities to understand pollution and other issues such as damp in their houses, for example, and it gives them the power, if they think there's something wrong, to get reliable evidence and then go to government or the local authority and say, we know that the pollution here is breaking legal limits and you need to do something about it. So it's really putting power in the hands of citizens. Briefly, just to touch on our work, where we come from at NESTA. We've just finished a project called Digital Social Innovation for Europe, which sought to map out digital social innovation across Europe, but also to support the community and to understand more about why it hasn't quite grown as much as we might like it to. There are hundreds of amazing examples around Europe, but there's very few examples of it going to scale and actually kind of affecting transformative change. So this is our website, digitalsocial.eu, and I'd encourage you all to check it out and to sign up if it's of interest. The project has now finished, but we're keeping the website live for at least the next year and continuing to grow the database. Alongside that, as I said, we've been doing research. Here's the link to our research paper, which was published just over a month ago. And then we've been doing events and communications and building a toolkit and practical guide for practitioners. And this, I won't go into detail, but just a kind of broad look at other work we're doing at NESTA, which is related to digital social innovation, including grant funding and pilots with public services. One of the main things of the project has been trying to map digital social innovation across Europe. So we've mapped almost 2,000 organizations and over 1,000 projects using technology and people to tackle social challenges. And this is not a complete list. We have less good contacts than we'd like in Eastern Europe especially. So if any of you are working in this area, please do sign up or get in touch with us because we're really keen to hear from you. And this is a map of what the projects and organizations across Europe look like. So as you can see, France, the UK, Spain, Germany, and the Netherlands and Italy have the most. But again, we know there's a lot more in Eastern Europe that we could be mapping and are really keen to get online. This is just quickly so this is all the organizations and projects on the database. And this is all of them if you only keep ones that are linked to other organizations. So the finding from this and what we found in a lot of our work is that people aren't well linked to each other. So we have someone come to us in Scotland doing something awesome, and we know there's someone similar in Denmark or Hungary doing something really awesome, and they don't know about each other. So we're really keen to try and continue building this network so that people can share their learnings, their failures, their experiences, and so on. And as you can see, it's across a really broad range of social areas. And you probably can't read the text on this, but it's also across a really broad range of technologies, all the way from fairly established ones like social networks, social media, all the way to very cutting-edge ones like blockchain, artificial intelligence, and so on. So what's the potential of DSI for social impact in regional development? As I said, there's loads of social areas where it is having impact and can continue to have impact. Some of the ones which I think might be particularly relevant for kind of regional development and also some of the social challenges around extreme poverty, around social exclusion, are a few of these. I won't go through all of them, but a couple of my favorites. So for example, FRSI in Poland, which has worked with 4,000 libraries in the country to provide software, hardware, and training so that people can upskill people, especially in rural areas, in digital skills so that they can find employment, so that they can access services online, and so on. Another one is Goteo, which is a crowdfunding platform in Spain. And they've really kind of revolutionized the way that communities can access money through crowdfunding and drawing on the power of the crowd, but also using match funding from institutions to really raise sometimes quite significant sums of money for things like renovating the local community hall or providing educational opportunities for kids or throwing even just a summer party that brings the community together. And then finally, the rural transport pilot at the bottom, which we see. So this is a pilot which is about to start in Essex, just outside London. And the idea of the pilot is that currently bus services in rural parts of England are expensive for the local authority, and they're not very good for the people using them. And they're developing a digital platform so that buses run where they're needed, when they're needed, so that people get a better service, and so that the people running the buses can save money. Finally, just a few of the barriers which we see in DSI at the moment. One of the biggest is that there's not enough funding. As I said, we have billions poured into commercial innovation every year, and we'd really like to see some of that put into innovation where societal impact is the main aim. And another one of the really big ones is adoption by the public sector. It's really heartening to see people like Eindhoven and other cities in the Netherlands as well, who are doing amazing stuff on things like procurement, but across Europe and from the UK as well, we still have a very long way to go. And the same with charities who have very low digital skills and aren't really, at the moment, quite ready to take advantage of these new technologies to turn citizens who traditionally are either service recipients or donors, to turn them into actual co-creators and innovators themselves. And then finally, we need to be much better at understanding our impact. We've touched upon this a little bit earlier. We don't really know whether a lot of this works, and we really need to. And then finally, a lot of these projects, we just don't really have the business models to scale them. They're often based, they don't want to be based on kind of privatizing data and options like that. So we really need a lot more research into how we can grow these things to actually achieve transformational impact rather than just on a small scale in one city, for example. So that's it. Please do get in touch. I have to run soon after this session, so I won't be around to talk, but please do send me an email if you have any questions or are interested in any more work. Thanks for listening.
But thank you very much. I would be actually interested already, how much does the Wiki house cost?
Sorry?
How much does the Wiki house cost, the 3D printing house? I
think it's about, so the basic house I think is about £14,000 once you have the land. So,
once you have the...
So I mean, I don't think WikiHouse will be able to change the land, unfortunately. But I think the cost of building a house nowadays is over 100 grand in the UK. So it is a fraction of the cost.
Still not bad, still not bad. Thank you very much. Let me now introduce Nicola Graham from Dublin, the Dublin City Council. And she would tell us a little bit more about how they're using the open data. And I think this is really a huge struggle for all of us now, the data collection and actually how to get the use of the data for smart city concept. So I think we're all of us very curious to hear your stories. Thank you very much. And we get the right presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon. First, I'd like to thank the organisers for inviting Smart Dublin to be here today. It's great to have the opportunity to share with you our experiences in Dublin and to learn more about what other countries are doing. My name is Nicola Graham. I'm the Community Manager and Open Data Coordinator for the Smart Dublin Regional Project. I'll start with a little background about the project, give a couple of examples of projects that we're involved in at the moment, and tell you a bit about what we've learned so far. So Dublin has a population of over 1.3 million people. It's split into 4 different municipalities or local authorities, and it's a mix of urban and rural areas. Unlike many European cities, our mayor does not play a leading role in the day-to-day running and decision-making process. This is done by the chief executive in each local authority. In 2011, Dublinked, Smart Dublin's open data portal was launched in partnership with Maynooth University. The aim was to drive innovation and develop solutions for the Dublin region using open data. This was one of Dublin's local authorities' first attempts at collaboration. Traditionally, each local authority looked after its own areas and there was no sharing of information. In 2016, the 4 chief executives decided to pool their resources and collaborate to find solutions to common problems. Even though each area is very different, many of the challenges are the same. And hopefully we'll have a short video highlighting some of the collaborations happening in Dublin.
Can we try the YouTube? Můžeme ten YouTube zkusit zapnout? Tam dole v té... 1 second. Okay. Maybe not. This is always the digital area, you know? This is always like this. We have conference on digital and innovation, and it's all the time happening.
Also in Eindhoven.
Okay, thank you. Happy not only here. Pôjde nám to, alebo... Nie? Nepôjde? Pôjde? Ešte počkáme chvíľočku, alebo to necháme na neskôr? Okay, they're going to try to put it afterwards, if that's okay?
Yeah, that's no problem.
Okay, perfect.
It's not essential. It's just to give people an overview of Smart Dublin.
You do it at the end of the presentation.
So,
Nefunguje nám teraz... Okay.
So one of the things that is highlighted in the video is the collaborations that Dublin are doing and who they're doing them with. Dublin is home to 9 out of 10 of the largest tech companies in the world. So this slide here shows some of the projects and companies and institutes that Smart Dublin are working with at the moment on various different projects. However, it's not just about big companies. Small and medium enterprises and startups are also working on innovative solutions. Last year, Smart Dublin, in partnership with Enterprise Ireland, launched a Smart Cycling SBIR to encourage cycling in Dublin's city centre. There were 98 expressions of interest, 23 proposals, and 5 companies awarded 12,500 funding to develop their solutions. SBIR, or Small Business Innovation Research Initiatives, are a pre-commercial procurement process. It gives local authorities a chance to find innovative solutions not currently available in the market, but it also gives small and medium enterprises and startups a chance to tender where traditional procurement does not. And the phase 1 winners were evaluated and given additional funding for phase 2. So there are phase 2 winners there. They're currently actually working on their phase 2 projects, and we should see their results in September. So this year, we put out 3 new challenges: illegal dumping, wayfinding, and gully monitoring, which is to do with flooding. Between these 3 challenges, we had 181 expressions of interests and 41 proposals. So the evaluations are happening at the moment, and the winners of these competitions should be announced at the end of July. There are a lot of innovations happening in Dublin at a high level. So new types of infrastructure, low power area networks, and sensor technologies. So these types of innovations are not always recognised by civil society. They'll make a difference in the long run, but it's not clear to people at the moment. That's why initiatives like the SBIR projects are so valuable. Solutions are visible, usable, or tangible, and really impact on the day-to-day lives of our citizens. And what are cities without citizens? People can create innovative products or services, but if there are no people to use them, then they're useless. The role of citizens is central to new innovations, and Smart Dublin is involved in a H2020 project, Route to PA. It aims to get citizens involved with open data to make sense of the data through online social platform and data visualization tools. And through the project, we've made YouTube videos that try and help people, because generally a lot of people, they're not skilled as far as data visualization is concerned. So we've tried to allow for that and provide tools to help them. Route to PA has 5 pilots located in different parts of Europe, Dublin, Prato, EC, Utrecht and Salerno. And each pilot will be testing new scenarios to engage citizens in the autumn. So cultural heritage, cycling, public facilities and wellness and participatory budgets are on the agenda for those scenarios. Collaboration is key if you can pool budgets, resources, or even share pre-existing knowledge and experience. It's amazing how valuable that can be for social and digital innovation. In the local authority, having senior management open to new ways of doing things can really make a difference. And we're quite lucky in Smart Dublin in the sense that the 4 chief executives were on board and were willing to participate. Also, having champions in the departments or in the areas of the local authority where the innovation is happening is also very important. Operation knowledge and experience can influence the journey to new innovative solutions. And it's not just about the tech, it's also about improving services for citizens in the Dublin region. Thank you. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I'm just going to ask, ešte skúsime to video, pôjde nám to, alebo... Tak skúsme ešte, we will just try to see the video.
The Smart Dublin initiative is an initiative on behalf of the 4 Dublin local authorities, so the feeling was that we should pool our resources and have one single approach so we can maximise the benefits of pursuing a smart city.
Dublinked is the open data platform for the Dublin region, where the Dublin local authorities publish their city data and inviting others to co-create solutions to the challenges that the city faces.
We do urban noise monitoring in an automated way that helps cities make better decisions about their environmental policy, to have a quieter, more environmentally friendly city.
Working with the different teams in Dublin City Council, Intel has been very busy building an experimental flood monitoring system and providing them with the data that can be turned into the knowledge to do their jobs effectively.
The Smart Stadium project, which is a collaboration between DCU, Intel and Croke Park, is to develop an Internet of Things demonstrator testbed for companies and researchers who are looking to develop Internet of Things technologies, sensors, networks, etc.
So we're helping local governments and citizens connect with each other, and we're providing a new way to analyse public opinion where there are issues of controversy, for example on flooding or sea defences. What are all the perspectives and how can we promote dialogue by finding this data together with stakeholders?
I think even the fact that we're here today talking about what Smart Dublin is about, even just commencing that journey and being able to connect across institutions and businesses to make sure that we get the very best to think about the way that we might operate together.
It's about solving problems and creating solutions for entities like Dublin City Council.
Thank you very much once again. Thank you. And I would like to invite to the floor Tuija Hirvikoski. She's the president of European Network of Living Labs and also member of Open Science Policy Platform. And she will tell us how actually this virtual and urban living labs work and how they shared and support the shared vision and co-creation design modeling. I'm really curious to hear that, because also in my opinion this city as test bed, so if we describe the smart city as a test bed, I think it's very important for creating this innovative environment. So I'm really curious to hear your story. Please, the stage is yours.
Hello everyone, and let me start by maybe getting my slides. I'm happy to be here. Last summer during the Bratislava summit, we were thousands of people here. Each and everyone was emphasizing, it's all about citizens. Cities are not about town halls, it's about citizens. And who is the citizen? You are, I am, as mothers, as fathers, as researchers, as managers, as politicians. It's all about us. And that is what Living Labs are as well about. In previous session, it was emphasized that we should stop speaking the Django Mango, what the citizens don't understand. I'm sorry, I will be using some Django Mango, some concepts, but I try to bring some metaphors with me to make it easier. So, if you close your eyes and you imagine the nature, you imagine the living cell, or you imagine a flock of geese flying from one place to another. It's an example of living laboratory. Living lab is, however, in this context, when we look at our cities, our organizations, it's a social experimentation, how the citizens are self-organizing together with the city or any other public authority, with the companies, with the researchers, and other stakeholders. And that is what I mean with the phrase of living laboratory. And we really try to aim to create shared value. But we are not starting always from research as the traditional innovation is doing. We start from what is needed. And then Living Labs co-create the solutions based on what is possible. And that is where the researchers, the technologies are providing us the tools to fulfill our dreams and to solve our challenges. This picture is already maybe some 15 years old. So it's another metaphor for Living Lab. You can think of your city or your region as an innovation ecosystem, as it was emphasized by Markkula, that we are now having the ecosystem thinking and approach. But in this case, I'm a Nordic person. I come from Helsinki, and we love the nature. So it reminds me how it is to cook in the nature. You need a pot, and the pot is the living laboratory. And you bring the ingredients, people, knowledge, ideas, concepts, commercialization, business models to the pot. You add them one by one until your soup is ready. But what makes the soup to boil is the public-private civic partnership. And I would like to say today that it's about people-public-private partnership, in that order. And then, of course, from the point of view of cities, innovative procurement and public pre-commercial procurement and that type of things are making it all happen. Let's go to the future. 2030, the vision is here. As the member of Open Science Policy Platform, I'm of course supporting the 3 O's strategy. 3 O's referring to open innovation, open science, and open to the world. So it's a global movement where we really try to engage. I come from a university, and by the way, Laurea University of Applied Sciences, who is paying my salary, we started 25 years ago as the youngest university in Finland with the loudest places, locations, and of course loudest staff members, including myself. And boys, what do you do when you have that type of ingredients? You ask yourself, who could help me? You go and you speak with your staff members, asking them, what is the kind of university the society needs? What is the kind of method the student will help the students? And that is how we came up with the idea of using open innovation approach, using the living laboratory approach, in order to go through the curriculum, not teaching theoretical things, but providing the floor for the students to apply what they were learning. So the future, according to the trio strategy, is that all the ingredients, different stakeholders together will form and use a sharing open virtual environment, which is called the lab. Currently, the living labs are mostly place-based, as Markula was reminding. But in future, most probably all that will happen over the internet. It happens in urban areas also, not only in urban areas, but also in rural areas. As a matter of fact, many of the living labs started from the countryside. But when we are going to this direction, we have to pay attention to some differences, some aspects. One of them is that we can't anymore use the one-sided criteria for judging complex activities like research and innovation or responsible research and innovation. I like the picture of Cinderella. Imagine that somebody is choosing the wife based on the size of the shoe. No, you will not do that. You want to see the holistic human being. As Annamaria was saying, it's the lovely lady, the personality and everything. So therefore, also in real life, let's not focus on the tip of the iceberg, the visible side, the explicit side, but pay attention to the invisible side, the people, the culture, the values. And that's how you will provide the opportunity for serendipity. We can't plan everything. We have to allow the natural things to evolve. So see the whole picture. Just quickly, from closed innovation towards open innovation, and now we are in the era of innovation networks and ecosystems. And that is what European Networks of Living Labs is also representing. It's ecosystem-centric. It can start from whatever element you have in your ecosystem. Of course, the red and white and yellow dots, the human beings, the individuals are the most crucial ones. We need also organizations, cities. We need digital spaces. And then we start to add other material and immaterial ingredients, science, values, and so forth. And then we apply next to each other different innovation models. Normally, we don't speak about linear innovation, but it's easier to explain that the shared understanding, shared vision, shared value co-creation is taking place in every phase of innovation. You engage the citizens, the people, to each and every phase. Challenge definition, ideation, concept creation, prototyping, testing, validation, pre-launch, launch, and post-launch phases. The problem, however, is that we quite often get stuck to the testbed type of thinking. So we use the people. Do you want to be a guinea pig? No, you don't. You want to be empowered by the innovation and learning and co-creation processes. That's why within Living Labs we try to cover all the phases and inviting people to the different phases. But then, from the point of view of Europe and particularly digital single market, it's also crucial that we create transnational scalability. Scalability was mentioned earlier. For example, transnational care living labs, which already exist in Benelux countries, in Nordic countries, and now it's coming more and more wide. We help the SMEs and the companies to run parallel pilots and co-creation processes so that we can speed up the take-up of the innovation, and we will not lose too much time, because agility and speed is what the worldwide competition is about. And guys, I have grown-up kids, and I would like to be sure that they will have some livelihood opportunities in the future. And that's what you want to do as well. So that's why we have to look after not only to our own cities, our own life, but also utilize the fact that as Europe, we have the power and make something out of it. So it's not only in Europe, it's all over the world. The most charming examples come, for example, from South America and Africa, where people are using this approach in order to teach the citizens what digitalization is about, providing the knowledge, skills, and then engaging them to the innovation processes. Just quickly, some other examples. In Barcelona and my home city, we are engaging elderly people and even school kids to the innovation process. Because it's not only teaching the digital skills, but it's also about teaching co-creation skills. Otherwise, it's difficult to innovate. In Belgium, also the civil servants are innovators. Local politicians are innovators, and they use applications in order to fulfill the innovation process. Back at home, with European Union funding, we created e-governance and e-participation tools. And we are still in the process, but it seems to be promising, providing also earning logic for companies. And then again, challenge yourself with the most difficult part of the society. Elderly people, disabled people, and ask yourself, how do I engage them to the digital era? How do I collaborate with them? You can do it, believe me. Here we are developing robotics for ambient assisted living with the help of elderly people and caregivers. Of course, for the companies, it's also important that we help them to promote what was created. And for that, you can create technology libraries where people can experience what already was created, and at the same time, they start to ideate in which innovative ways they could use the things. And then finally, last but certainly not least, the digital single market approach and how to create the transnational care living labs. All these examples come from European Network of Living Labs. We have 400 organizations all over the world, most of them from Europe, and each and every one is pushing forward different ways how to apply this approach and how to engage the different stakeholders to the processes. However, related to Carlos Moeda's vision about the virtual lab, I would say that my colleagues in Catalonia are in very interesting phase. They speak about collaboratory, which would be based on future internet, where your mother could be working with my kids. They speak in Catalan or any language, and we speak in Finnish or Swedish or whatever language we have, in order to jointly find solutions for our daily problems. Let's hope that will be on place very soon without leaving anyone behind. Helsinki is my home city, and there we have an interesting suburb project where the vision is how to co-create a suburb where each and everyone will spend 1 hour per day, so that everything, the logistics, the life is so smooth that you get an extra hour every day. We apply it for traffic, for mobility, for health, well-being. But what we always emphasize that in multiple stakeholder approach, you need mediators. You need people who are interpreting the language of the civil servants for the companies and the other way around, who are helping us to understand each other's, who are bridging and facilitating the processes. And that's how you can use your entire city as a living laboratory and to create better businesses and also to attract foreign investments. At least in Finland, we need that. So if you want to go to some of the material more, so finally the links to the material. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This was perfect timing, exactly 15 minutes actually. You counted it. Thank you so much for this. And we are discussing a lot about citizen engagement and how to support citizens in social innovation. But I'm really happy that we have Enikő Mátyus. I'm sorry, I hope to pronounce it very correctly. And she will actually represent a co-working space, InnoHUB, and she would tell us a little bit about the innovative approach that they're using in Romania to also support the innovative SMEs and businesses in that area. Thank you very much.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for the invitation, and thank you for the opportunity. It's really interesting for me being here beside of such interesting personalities. Today I learned a lot, and a little bit I changed my concept and my presentation. So I'm representing today a co-working space. This is the first co-working space from Schreurs. It's a part of the South Transylvania, and more I will present a concept and not an infrastructure. So, So it's all started by a UNDP program. It was a program about establishing business incubators in Romania, mostly in the big cities, but by some lobby, St. George City, which is more a town than a city, was selected like a pilot location for another business incubator. And it's a really a typical story that when new parties, new government is coming, they don't really trust the old guys. So after some incubation cycles, programs, they just stop the public funding. So the business incubator as some kind of accelerator by public funding, seed capital, stop the activity, because the question is how to be attractive for SMEs without this seed funding. But I think stopping this program, it was the best thing which could happen with this business incubator, because of this system we developed a structure, an independent structure, and we became competitiveness pole of the region. So this is how today looks like our business incubator. It's also a cluster house with 8 regional cluster management entities. Also, we are a social economy incubator. We have more than 50 incubated enterprises and representatives as Enterprise Europe Network and so on. And several local business support organizations. And then in 2015, we realized the need of a hub, of a co-working space, of a center for young people, for the talent community. I want to say to you that St. George, it's more talent community supplier. It's not so attractive for start-uppers. So the question was, for this little city, can we really, or it's relevant to establish an impact hub or a hub using the business model from big cities? And the answer is no. So we established a center, a little center, which is not just for freelancers, not just for start-uppers, but for people, for young people who want to develop themselves, to students. And it's quite interesting to see how a student and the start-upper can work together on different issues or topics. So, what we are trying to do is to make the connection between economy and education. And I think this is the third time today when we speak about the relation of economy and education, how we can connect these things. In Romania, we have really big problems. The students don't have this real knowledge. They don't have knowledge about the social economic realities. So, like in every region, we need connectors and integrators. And what we are trying to do is to teach young people to become integrators and connectors, and maybe together to transform this initiative, this InnoHUB initiative, in a national or regional policy. The whole thing is about capturing the value of people who want to stay in St. George City, they want to stay in Romania, and we developed a structure, we identified the key priorities, and we are working a lot on methodologies, how to stimulate young people, how to stimulate startups, because it's not enough just to host them, and the monthly fee, it's like really symbolic. This hub is not about the business, it's about building a community of with who we can work together on projects. So we have a really interesting team, and we don't select by who has the biggest idea, who will, I don't know, make the new Tesla or Google, but we choose positive people. We choose people of change with a positive attitude, and these people are stimulating each other, and they are developing each other's idea. And for sure, it's about the power of community. Now we have like 15 persons in our hub, but this is changing because this is some kind of pre-accelerator program as well. And mentors are people who care, people which are representing clusters. So cluster managers, presidents of cluster are making this mentoring program because of their commitment. And what are clusters? This cluster model was developed by my boss, Mr. Vojda Lajos. And it's about cluster, it's about collaboration between businesses, academia and research, for sure public authorities and catalyst organizations, which are entities without direct connection with the field, with the economic field, like financing institutions, mass media, and so on. And which is what is interesting in a cluster, that the cluster don't have public formal. It's not a formal entity, but the management entity or the management organization has the legal form. Clusters are about collaboration, free collaboration, free contribution to development of a field. So we are working together with them, and these regional clusters with the office in the business incubator covers all the smart specialization areas of the region. These are the clusters. And we also have a cluster consortium with 21 clusters in our region. And this intersectorial collaboration is also stimulated by us. We are not trying to transform every idea in a business. This is important because accelerators are about how to increase the number of startups, the number of micro enterprises, but we are trying to identify the really good ideas which are about sustainability. And our biggest problem in our organization is that we confuse growth with development. And this is why we say that if it's not sustainable, it's not a development, and sustainability, it's about three things: economic growth, positive social impact, and also nature or environment protection. So after the mentor program, the mentors will identify if that idea meant to be a business or a project. And we identified 4 areas like balneary tourism. I don't know if you know about balneology. Balneology is the science of natural resources with healing effects. This is, I think, the most unique or a special point of Romania. We have more than 2,000 mineral waters. Healthy lifestyle, green energy, and also creative industries. And one pilot project of us, and we are working together with these young people on that, transforming villages in bioenergy villages. We developed this concept of 1 village, 1 megawatt, which is about biomass. Solid biomass is the biggest potential of Romania, so we are designing these small-scale heating systems. And we are searching for young people from these villages. Maybe they are at the university, but we are trying to find them and to work together to design personalized strategy for every village in Romania. And in a few months, this 1 village, 1 megawatt will be transformed in a national policy in Romania. So I don't know if you know about Prince Charles' commitment to Romania. He has some guest houses in our county, and he says that the biggest value of Romania is authenticity, and they are also some kind of talent community. And the question is, whose responsibilities are they? Because businesses or entrepreneurs, mostly in Romania, they say that, okay, we want money, we represent this area, but I think circular economy and blue economy as well, it's about taking responsibility. So every action of us, it's about taking responsibility, and by digitalization, saving our traditions, which will result through innovation. We are organizing events. We are trying to making these networks. Now we have partners with more than 30 countries. And if I speak about business incubator, I don't speak about a building, but I speak about a system and a concept. Yeah, this is all. Thank you for your attention.
I would like to thank you for all the inspiring presentation, and it was very interesting for all of us. I would like to invite you to use Slido, which is a very great Slovak startup, and ask questions through this application. But of course, if you have any question, you can also use the old-fashioned way, just raise your hands, and of course, we can kick off the discussion. So if I actually may ask first, but I would already also take the question from Slido into that. All of you were discussing the co-creation, the cooperation, the partnership. I think this was really the most important, or these are really the most important words of today, if I may put it that way. And the question here is if you can share with us your tricks how you actually create this partnership, how you actually incentivize those stakeholders, all the relevant stakeholders to participate. And if I may use the example of the pot, maybe sometimes some herbs or salt is a little bit missing, and that can be trust, that can be common language, for example. Definitely sometimes it's also shared vision, because sometimes you have those contradictory needs. So how do you cope with that? And it's a question to all of you, since this was really the word that was common for all of you here. So Marian, would you like to start?
The easiest thing to get the companies involved is to start a procurement. And then you make it an obligatory part of your procurement. And that means that procurement take much, much, much longer. And then you think, okay, we arrived at co-creating the solutions together, of the way to reach these solutions together. And then you still have to draw up the contracts, and then the game starts again, because contracts are based on distrust and on risk avoidance, and you can't be innovative if you have that. So then you have to take another part of your own organizations along. But the real thing is, and we also do it with small SMEs, really take care that there is no escape in actually doing things, and that means that there has to be an obligation of some sort.
You use the word or the phrase, it's not a rocket science. I actually really love that one. Let's just change the rules. Is it really that easy, or was it really that easy in your case? And maybe then also...
People find it very hard most of all know that we are doing things that are not actually achieving the results that we want. But it's very hard to do, how do you call it? It's a Baron von Münchhausen Act on your own. That is pulling yourself out of the swamp by your own hairs. He was the only one achieving it ever. So normally you really need the other parties to make it work, and everybody has to change in the process. And that's why I use design. I put a designer in, because they are not of one of the subjects that you are bringing together, and they don't have a specific point of view. They are just gathering all the information and enabling all of us to make the next step together. So normally it's that as I said, it's very hard to see how things can be done differently, because you are so much a part of the system. Just give you one example. I had people from real estate within the local government together with people who dealt with education. And the real estate people knew that education had to change, because, you are not performing how you should do the things. And the education people knew that real estate had to change. But inside the subsystems, they were not able to, find the words even to do it. And also what you find is, if you sit around the table, you have to have round tables. You discover that all of you have the same problem. So it's not about failing anymore. This is also one of the things that was said at the start of the morning. It's not about failing, it's about finding the right way, and sometimes you take a wrong turn because you're in uncharted territory.
But you also mentioned the Citizen Lab in Belgium, the project and Citizen Lab of Belgium. So maybe there was a good example of how to engage the citizens also into this process of co-creation and co-design.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a good example. Also, the Smart Citizen Kit, the environment one, have done a lot of really great work. They're currently working on a EU-funded CAPS project, running pilots in Amsterdam, Barcelona, and Pristina in Kosovo, and they've managed to engage citizens. And I think the lesson from that, and from other stakeholders as well, is making really clear what the impact is, why people should collaborate. So to citizens, that's saying, it's making really clear in plain language what effect it will have on their daily lives, whether that's it will mean that the air outside your house is less polluted, or it means that your playground where your kids go to gets a bit of extra funding from the local authority. And then it's the same when speaking to the public sector. We see quite a lot of digital social innovation focusing a bit too much, the kind of practitioners focusing a bit too much on the tech. So it's, look at this really great use of open data, or this really great piece of open hardware, and then as a result, sometimes kind of neglecting the actual social impact. And making that clear is really key. So if you're going to a commissioner or a public sector saying, not this is cool open data project, but this is a project which will save you money or be able to deliver a better service, or whatever the impact is, the people who are in the public sector, in the local authorities, facing these challenges with often severe budget cuts, making really clear, again in plain language, kind of why they should get involved, I think is really, really key. And I think there's a really big opportunity as well in digital social innovation, because by focusing primarily on social impact and probably the large majority of digital social innovation projects being not profit, not that that's a kind of that has to be the case, but a lot are non-profit, and so the kind of commercial competition is much less than we see in other forms of digital innovation. So I think there's a real opportunity to foster that collaboration. But as you saw through the visualization of the network, there's still a long way to go in linking people up to each other and just kind of raising awareness of a lot of what's going on.
Thank you very much. I think definitely what would help is also the change or adjustment of the educational system. Today we're mentioning this project in Barcelona. So actually really teaching our kids already the process of co-creation, co-design thinking, which could then of course help also in the process with dealing with companies, but then also bureaucratic apparatus and people working for the local authorities, that they would actually know how to use this process. Could you elaborate a little bit more on the maybe methodology and also the success of this project that you've done in Barcelona?
So I was like, first when you addressed us with this question, I was like asking, is it an issue? Because in Scandinavia, from where I come from, it's more the mainstream. Collaboration is something that made us to survive in the cold, difficult conditions. I don't want to go to the awful stories, how it was when it was too cold and it was difficult to find food. But if I try to like figure out why the transition within public sector and academia, why it happened, there was some regulation and deregulation based on the idea of proximity, based on the idea that let's empower the local regional authorities, let's ask them to empower the citizens and the students. And that is how you can, because we are not driven by the market, we are driven by legislation and policies and so forth. So you have to create conditions for those guys. And also for universities, I think now, because we are all here with the idea of how to make Europe a really interesting innovation hub, which will be attracting knowledgeable people, companies, and investors. So we also have to look after that the funding instruments, that they are not measuring, it's not the shoe measuring what was received earlier. But if you measure innovation, you have to create evaluation tools which will have the idea about what will happen next. And you have to understand that by definition, if you want to have an innovation, you can't define it in advance. You have to allow the space for the ideas and people to breathe and co-create ideas. But then from the point of view of companies and from the individuals, it's different. I think we are all motivated with benefits, with things which we find have meaning. They have some value for us, and for example, from my point of view, it's very interesting for the companies if we can open access for them, let's say for elderly people, and we safely and securely look after that no one is exploiting anyone, but it's really ethically correct and well-established research and innovation process. So it's nice for the elderly people, they will be empowered by the process, and certainly the companies will hit the nail a lot faster than just theoretizing and experimenting with what already was created by the engineers. And then we also educate kids, and we also educate senior citizens and people who are not. So informal education is extremely important. We can use media, social media, but also cities can provide, as they do in Barcelona and in Catalonia in general. They have senior labs, they have spaces, places where people can not only learn, but create something out of what they have been. So Fab Labs, Makery Labs, all this belongs technology centers. So again, it might be irritating for you, but let me put it in this way. I love my taxis as long as they are used in a way that will help the societies to develop. That's how we create a good future, not only for people who are in the risk of falling outside the society, but it will be a lot more convenient for each and everyone.
I remember that I didn't answer your question, actually, and Enikő said it. We are in the business of realizing good ideas, and that means that the playing field has to be very strict in certain ways, and the playing field in digitalization was actually not defined that well. It was all about privacy, but it was not about uses of data. And actually, you see nowadays that garbage is becoming something of value, and the same development is in data. It's of value, but those are things that are created from us, so we should have a saying in it. And it's the European Union, that's the right level to take the right measures. And what you see now, Google has paid 2.4, well, is going to pay, hopefully going to pay 2.4 billion euros. And we could use it to create our own localized. But the interesting thing is, it's something specifically here that we have arranged, and now we have to make the next step. And the thing I'm very worried about, well, in my estimate, we have only a few years to succeed in this. And yes, we all feel that we are on the same track, but to make it actually possible, our legislation has to change. And that is something that we should, I think, put forward from this conference, that the European Commission not only takes the next step forward for the next period, but also in advance creates the legislation that is necessary. It's now or never.
It's a future-proof regulation that we would need to create, definitely. And actually, these would be the questions that I have for Nicola, and they are very much connected. First one is, it was difficult for you to create this regulatory environment to establish this open data platform. And then also, we already discussed how the data are important, what sort of value we can have from them. But isn't it also true that we have really huge amount of data that are maybe not that relevant, maybe not that important? So how to actually also select those that would be?
Well, the way the Dublinked portal started was IBM were involved, and they wanted the city's data, so they offered to build us a platform, and it was proprietary. So when Dublinked was relaunched under the Smart Dublin umbrella last year, we migrated it to a CCAN platform, so it's all open source now. But a lot of the existing data, it was what's there, let's just put it up there because we can say that it's open. So one of the things that we're currently working on is going through the data sets to try and sort out what is good, what isn't, and we'll then ask people what types of data they're more interested in seeing up on the platform. There is a list that we would of 20 top data sets for open data. Now, not all of them are the responsibility of the local authorities. Some are in health and some are in policing and that kind of thing. So we don't have jurisdiction over those. So we're going to try and look at those particular data sets and get them up there first.
I think it was Tuija who opened this also issue about people or citizens as a guinea pigs. So don't your citizens have this sort of feeling that Big Brother is watching you, and are they willing to share the data with you very openly? Or do you have any special mechanism also maybe to incentivize them, to motivate them to share it?
Well, we're not looking for their data specifically. We're looking internally to see what data we have, because there's data sitting on everybody's computer, and it's all in spreadsheets, or it's not in usable formats. So we have the data there. So it's about trying to get our internal departments and show them the value of the data and what insights they can draw from the data, and get them to publish it first.
So to show them the possibilities of the open data.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Thank you very much. Enikő, I would like to ask you, I think already companies also realize that they can be advantage of paying taxes, not only citizens, maybe those negative externalities that can be solved through, innovative technology, innovative solutions, like, inefficiencies in education system or healthcare, of course, as well. And you're trying to develop this social corporate responsibility, I think already from the very beginning, right, in the startups. Is it difficult also for you to persuade the startups that they should take care also of the social value and not only of the economic value?
I think it's harder with SMEs because startups, if we speak about startups, and I had the opportunity to work together more with this indigo generation, which is really social, they are so social responsible people, so they establish their startup because they identify the challenge, which is also connected with their vocation. So in my experience, it's good to work together with young people. We really studied this indigo thing, but to stimulate collaboration between these three sectors, public, research, and economy, it's quite challenging. And then another level is that in national level, how to make the synergy between national strategy and regional strategies. And another level, it's within international projects, that 19% of the project, it's about transferring knowledge from east to west, to east, sorry. But what is the biggest gap that in most of the cases, West doesn't know the realities of the East. So this is why we see a lot of international projects with a small impact or not positive impact, because this working together and developing things together, it's not working out because we don't know each other, we don't want to understand each other. So I think we can speak also between SMEs and between countries as well. This is the same problem.
Was it maybe difficult for you, and this is the question that we have from Slido, to achieve the balance between this economic and societal needs? Was it difficult to explain it to companies, maybe how to achieve this balance?
I think the key of success is to identify the challenge, the society challenge, because clustering, it's also about involving the local community. So if you involve in the development process the local community, then you can implement in a good way a project. And I can say that from 100 of SMEs, with 10 you can work together easily. And clustering, it's not about convincing SMEs. So a cluster will grow when there is a small group from these sectors and they are making a good job, which is a big success, and then SMEs will come and they want to join us. But this is the methodology usually.
Freely and willingly. Tuija, I wanted to...
Yes, I would like to go back to the question of different phases. When companies are in pre-launch phase or maybe in testing phase, that is when universities and public authorities can help a lot. We can help them to provide the evidence that whatever has been created, it works. And then public sector can help creating the market. And we have the innovative procurement, we have the pre-commercial procurement, we have innovation vouchers, we have tools, many tools, and then we can create more. Regulation helps as well. But when we go back to the question, because Europe will not survive if we only focus on improving what we already have. We also have to create something which is completely new. And that is where the wholehearted idea of engaging people and citizens and the real life needs to the co-design process is. When you can avoid both the problems what you were explaining between West and East and whatever, rich and poor or scientists and people, politicians and people, but if you really wholeheartedly bring to the table the real challenges and then you start to co-create the solutions, that is when we most probably will create the biggest possible sustainable, viable business model also. And I think it was Kramer and Porter who already 2011 wrote an article saying that companies which are internalizing societal problems and externalizing solutions will be the most successful companies as well. So, yes, theoretically it sounds like simple and easy, but in practice, yes, don't give up. A lot of persistence is needed.
The interesting thing is, and well, this is a technology town also, it makes people very happy to create things together. And the most interesting thing is, you don't have to have the same opinion to be able to create things together. It doesn't mean that we all have to share the same political opinion or whatever. But we take responsibility, and it's wonderful to take responsibility because you are part of producing it, creating it. And in a sense, it's the new democracy. You are, with your mind in your hands and whatever you have available, really creating it yourself.
I think this was perfect closing. I have to apologize, but we're running a little bit late. So I would like to ask you to give a big applause for my panelists. It was a very interesting discussion. You can, of course, contact them through their emails, and they're going to stay a little while here as well. So please don't hesitate. And if I may just ask Simon and Michael to come to the stage to explain you how you can find the food.
Thank you so much, Zuzana. Well, ladies and gentlemen, before we split up and have lunch, I would like you to introduce two very important men in this program. Please step forward, Michael and Boris. It was great. The panel was great. I would like to give you a compliment here because there was a great exchange of ideas and projects, and yes, I was so happy with the deputy mayor that she said, well, we are the system and we are the rules we do make up. So if we keep on going forward with the good work, yes, we can make the world change. And so do you here. Well, yes, you do. Michael, you designed and made sure that the open space is there. And what will we expect? Because I know Zuzana told us the food will be there, but also the innovations. So what will we find in the open space?
Okay, no worries, the lunch ready here in the opposite room. But after parallel sessions, around 4:30, you have to go to the southwest part of an area where is a building called Bravo, and we prepared a space called Open Space, and it's full of interesting project companies and municipality and other stuff presenting what they did in the innovation and their creative approach to different topics. So you are very cordially invited to go there, and also the ice cream and certain very interesting catering will be there provided. So,
great.
we are very happy to see you there.
We will all come. And then Boris, what can we expect? Because tell me first, the holographic reproduction, was it okay? Because you were signing for it.
There was some network connection struggle, but it's working.
It was working. Okay. Now tell me, what can we expect more? Because you are the one who designed for the media creativity.
So, as deputy, as media artist over here, I'm pleased to invite you for evening program. There is several interactive media art installation. Some of those running inside are running now, and some are dependent on the light conditions. So, as soon as possible as the darkness come, you can play with digital graffiti on the building over here. And also there will be a laser harp, you can play on it, and there is a laser fountain, and it's very amazing to see how it looks, perhaps something in the background. And also I would like to ask you to follow instruction for wearable interactive hardware we designed for you. With some connection struggle, we slowly light them up. And in this table over here, as you come, you can take the light under your name. Until 5 o'clock, please fulfill the form. It means step 1, because after 5, we are switching into step 2. So just please, if somebody did not find his name, please give us some little time to connect it to these local networks here. So thank you very much, and I'm really pleased you come here.
Boris, we will all stay at least till midnight, because then it will be dark and we will see all your beautiful creations. Thank you so much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I do invite you for lunch. You are invited by Michael to the open space. And of course, the 2 workshops this afternoon, the widening participation and the creativity for innovation. So, well, I wish you a joyful afternoon, and we'll see each other back all together at dinner time tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you.